Alrighty then. Right. Let's just start on a bad mood by losing in chess. That's not good. Okay, we've already fudged this up. Oops. Let's do one more game. I fudged it up. And then we'll start the main course. What's this? 1 second. What's this guy doing? What's he doing? Anyway. Whatever. Right. Back into the studying. Right, so we got this to do 7.5, so that's correct. And we want to sort it. So what's the right way to sort this? Sort. Can I do Oh, this is a big page. Jesus. Holy cow. Okay. So that means if I do So if I get the wrong answer, it's going to be 8.5. If it sorts correctly, I should get 7.5. Let's see. Oh, and it fails, of course, because it's immutable. Cannot borrow as mutable. Yeah. So I need to put mut here, and this needs to be mutable as well. Okay. Oops, I put must instead of mut. Alright. Wow. It works. And if I want to confirm that, I do this. And then I do this. 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I assert? Oh, I need to do this. Okay, so there's no output for that. So what if I do it like this? Is there an output? Nice. It panics because it's wrong. Cool. So that's right. Let's see. That's the median function implemented. We can delete this now, and we can delete oh, actually that's everything. Now I just need to implement mode. So we want it to be the same. I don't really want it to be... Actually, I have to put mutable because I don't think I can mix and match, even though I don't need it. That's fine. So the mode is the most common, right? Which means I need to implement a hash map. Is that efficient in terms of storage? I don't think it is. Wait a minute. There's no built-in function or method for this. I guess not. So how should I do this? Let's make some space. Or number in see, the thing is, this is wrong syntax. Is it for let? For God's sake, how do I memorize this? No, it's for. Oh, it was correct. Okay. For number in data. I need to create the hash map. Call it a mode map. I have no idea what the syntax is. Something like that. That needs to be mutable as well. And I also need to import it. And what was it? Was it std collections hash map or something like this? Alright, so we have this, and assuming that there's no errors here, we want to make the number But if it doesn't exist, we need to or insert. Oh, it's entry. Okay, entry or insert. Entry dot or insert 0. And we need to dereference the counter. Oops, I missed the equals. Dereference the counter and increment by 1. Can I do that in Rust? I'm not sure. Anyway. I think there's a problem with this, but for now let's just try and run it. Oh, wait a minute. How do I get the most? It's actually not going to be an F32. Oh, yes it is actually. Never mind. If... Well, I don't want brackets, I think. If count is less than mode. Sorry, no, it's the other way. If count is bigger than mode, then do I need to do a let here as well? Every time I assign a value. But I don't want this to steal the value of this. How do I do that? I don't want to take the ownership. This is not going to work, but let's say I put 2 3s. 3 should be the answer. And I don't want to get count, I want to get the actual value itself. Alright, let's see how this goes. Oh, it's clone. Okay. Wait a second. Okay, first of all, I forgot to put a semicolon. Second of all, oh, wait a minute. I need mode map, not data. Oh wow, I really fucked this up. Holy crap. This is totally wrong. Wait a minute. Oh, this is where I need to use a tuple. To get the list back. What is it again? It's like bracket. Shit. How do I do that? No, it's not this one. It's not this one. Was it with tuples? No, I don't think it was. I think it was it control flow? Where was it? There was somewhere in this guide that talks about getting back the value after you put it into a function. And you do it by assigning a tuple. Where was it? Was it scope? Alright, well, let's ask our good friend. Grok. How do I word this? In Rust, I want to get back my variable signing after calling a function with variable as a parameter. I think I can do this using a tuple, but I forgot the syntax. Currently, when I call a function, pass the variable as a parameter, I lose that variable because it goes out of scope. But I want to keep using it. That was a very long-winded way of saying it, but it should understand. All right. I think this is the one I need. Yeah, this is what I want. So you just tell it to return both, and then here you just do let with brackets. Okay. Ooh, I was so close. Wait a minute, what the heck? All I needed to do was this, I think. There's no way. Oh, why the heck am I using return? I don't think I need to do that. I can just do this. So why do I need to use reference? Oh wait, count is Is it better to do it as an integer? I will try it like this. Oh, it's saying I don't need to worry about that, I guess. I just need to dereference it. Okay. Fair enough. Now what? Oh, I still do need to do as F32. Fair enough. So it's like this. Data. Oh, it's not going to be a get, it's going to be a... No, wait a minute, this is not right. I can just use number. Variable does not need to be mutable. I thought it did. What was that? Holy crap, it's not working. Something's going wrong here. Let's just print out a bunch of stuff. Let's print out number first, just to make sure we're getting something. Print count here. Alright, let's go with this. So number is 3. That's correct. Should be 3, 3, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh. Wait, I'm being stupid. I'm being very stupid. This is a long-winded way of doing it, but I know there's got to be a more efficient way, but it's fine, I guess. I've got it. I know what I'm doing wrong. How do I do this in an efficient way? God, it's been so long since I did something like this. So what I want to do is I don't need to care about counting the mode. I just need to store the index of the data vector that I want to return at the end. So let's write some pseudocode. And while I'm looping through the data vector, I want to count occurrences of each number inside the vector. I'll do a top level first. So I'm counting the occurrences, and then I want to return the number return the number, return the most common number inside the data vector. But there's some stuff in between. Track the biggest or the most common number as the occurrences are counted. If the current number has more occurrences than the most common number, assign the current number as the new most common. So that's the logic, and I just need to track the most common number because that's what I'm going to be returning. So it's going to be like this. So now that I've refreshed my thought process, so I'm going to put most, I'm going to change this because I don't like it. Most common number. Most common number. I actually don't need this to be an F. Oh, I'll do it later, whatever. So for the number in the data, let count equals the number. If it doesn't exist, set it to 0. If it does exist, increase it by 1. If count see, this is where I'm getting confused. Do I need to track 2 values here? I don't want to cheat. I could just look at Stack Overflow, but I don't want to cheat. What should I do? Let's think about it. I'll just do it in a really bad way. really don't like this way of doing it. I know it's bad, but whatever. I just need to make it work first. Okay, it works. Now, I just delete these guys. Why does that return as a integer when I'm outputting it as a floating point? Well, it works, so anyway. I don't like it, but it works. The thing is, like, this could easily just be a... What is it? A U size? This doesn't need to be a F32. There we go. Everything has to be lowercase, just to make it happy. Alright. It doesn't need to be mute. Seriously? Why does that not need to be mute? Oh, because I'm doing let here. I'm reassigning it. Because I'm changing this needs to be mutable. But when I pass it back, it gets reassigned, so I don't need to have the first one as mutable. Because here, I'm assigning it, and then after this, I don't change it. Wow. Okay, well, it's a lame solution, but it works, so whatever. Let's move on. Let's move on. Chapter 9. I don't want to do these other exercises. This is like just going to be annoying. Using a hash map and vectors create a text interface to allow user to add employee names. No, there's too much time. Okay. Error handling. Errors are a fact of life in software, so Rust has a number of features for handling situations in which something goes wrong. In many cases, Rust requires you to acknowledge the possibility of an error and take some action before your code will compile. This requirement makes your program more robust by ensuring that you'll discover errors and handle them appropriately before deploying your code to production. Rust groups errors into two major categories: recoverable and unrecoverable. Okay. For recoverable errors, such as a file not found error, we most likely just want to report the problem to the user and retry the operation. Unrecoverable errors are always symptoms of bugs, such as trying to access a location beyond the end of an array. And so we want to immediately stop the program. Most languages don't distinguish between these two kinds of errors and handle both in the same way. Rust doesn't have exceptions. Instead, it has the type result TE for recoverable errors and panic, which stops the execution for unrecoverable errors. This chapter covers calling panic first and then talks about returning result TE values. Additionally, we'll explore considerations when deciding whether to try to recover from an error or to stop the execution. Alright. Sounds all good and dandy. Right. Let's start. Actually, you know what? Let's just do one round of chess just to feel shit again. After a embarrassing loss because I'm addicted. Come on then. Let's do 2 minutes. No, I'll do 3 seconds then, whatever. Come on. Let's go. Okay, he left. She, he, it. No, I don't want to do 1 second. Alright, we'll do 1 minute with 3 second increments. Let's do this. What the heck? Oh. Yeah, clearly taking here is a blunder. Oh, wait a minute. What is this? Ooh, I missed that. This is much better. Because he doesn't even have a... Wait a minute, what does he have? He has 1 rook, 2 bishops and a knight. I have 2 rooks, 2 bishops and 2 knights. Holy shit. That's way better. So the reason is because I did the check here. And if he castles, he's okay. But he did this. But if I do that, he can just take. Oh, no, he can't because I can do this. It's only 3.8 though. Anyways. Chapter 9. Error handling. Unrecoverable errors with panic. Alright. Sometimes bad things happen in your code, and there's nothing you can do about it. In these cases, Rust has the panic macro. Yes, there are two ways to cause a panic: by taking an action that causes our code to panic, or by explicitly calling the panic macro. Okay. In both cases, we cause a panic in our program. Clearly. By default, these panics will print a failure message. Unwind, clean up the stack, and quit. Via an environment variable, you can also have Rust display the call stack when a panic occurs to make it easier to track the source of the panic. Ah, like a crash dump. Nice. So unwinding the stack or aborting in response to a panic. By default, when a panic occurs, the program starts unwinding, which means Rust walks back up the stack and cleans up the data from each function it encounters. However, walking back and cleaning up is a lot of work. Therefore, Rust allows you to choose the alternative of immediately aborting, which ends the program without cleaning up. Memory that the program was using will then need to be cleaned up by the operating system. If in your project you need to make the resultant binary as small as possible, you can switch from unwinding to aborting upon a panic by adding panic equals abort to the appropriate profile sections in your cargo file. For example, if you want to abort on panic in release mode, add this. Okay. Let's try calling panic in a simple program. Okay, crash and burn. Okay. The call to panic causes the error message contained in the last two lines. The first line shows a message. And the place in our source code where the panic occurred indicates that it's the second line. Oh yeah, okay. In this case, the line indicated is part of our code. And if we go to that line, we see the panic macro. Okay, that's fairly simple. We can use the backtrace of the functions the panic call came from to figure out the part of our code that is causing the problem. To understand how to use a panic backtrace, let's look at another example. Here is some code that attempts to access an index in a vector beyond the range of the valid indexes. So there's 3 indexes and it tries to call index 99. Here we're attempting to access the 100th element, but it only has 3. In this situation, Rust will panic. Ugh. Okay. In C, attempting to read beyond the end of a data structure is undefined behavior. You might get whatever is at the location in memory that would correspond to that element, even though the memory doesn't belong to that structure. This is called buffer overread. Buffer overread, sorry, and can lead to security vulnerabilities. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. To protect your program from this, if you try to read an element at an index that doesn't exist, Rust will stop. Okay. Kind of simple stuff. The note line tells us that we can set the Rust backtrace variable to get a backtrace of what happened. And backtrace is a list of functions that have been called to get to this point. The key to reading backtrace is to start from the top and read until you see files that you wrote. That's the spot where the problem originated. So in this case, there are 7 backtracing lines, and the one where the problem occurred is at line number 6. That's a lot of output. The exact output you see might be different depending on your operating system and the Rust version. In order to get backtraces with this information, debug symbols must be enabled. Debug symbols are enabled by default when using cargo build or cargo run without the release flag. Line 6 of the backtrace points to the line in our project that's causing the problem. Okay, that's fine. It's a bit of I mean, it's very simple, so we can skip this part. Recoverable errors with result. Okay. Most errors aren't serious enough to require the program to stop entirely. True. And sometimes when a function fails, it's for a reason that you can easily interpret and respond to. For example, if you try to open a file and that operation fails because the file doesn't exist, you might want to create the file instead of terminating the process. Okay. True. True. Very true. So there's the result enum. T and E are generic type parameters. What you need to know right now is that T represents the type that will be returned in the success case, and E represents the type of the error that will be returned in the failure case. Because result has these generic type parameters, we can use the result type and the functions defined on it in many different situations. Let's call a function that returns result because the function could fail. Alright. Greeting file result equals file open hello.txt. The return type of file open is result TE. The generic parameter T has been filled in by the implementation of file open. stdfs file, which is a file handle. The type of E used in the error value is stdio error. This return type means the call to file open might succeed and return a file handle that we can read from or write to. The function call also might fail. In the case where it succeeds, the value in the variable will be the instance of OK. In the case where it fails, the value will be an instance of error that contains more information about the error that occurred. We need to add to the code to take different actions depending on the value, which is where we use the match. Okay, makes sense. no problem. And we need to use this syntax, equal sign, greater than sign, to make an arrow. Note that, like the option enum, the result enum and its variants have been brought into scope, so we don't need to specify result before the variants. Make sense? I think we can skip this, it's kind of obvious just by looking at it. Okay, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Matching on different errors. Okay, the code will panic no matter why open file failed. However, we want to take different actions for different failure reasons. If it failed because the file doesn't exist, then we want to create the file and return the handle to the new file. If file open failed for any other reason, for example because we don't have permission to open the file, then we still want the code to panic in the same way it did previously. For this we add an inner match expression. Oh wow, it's a double match. A triple match, what the heck? So we have so this is the previous code, but here it says match error.kind, and if error kind not found, then match file create hello text. If okay, return fc for file create. If error, return panic, problem creating the file with error message. Otherwise, it's a problem other than not found. In that case, for all of those cases, return problem opening the file with error message. We can skip this, but error kind is provided by the standard library. Okay, alternatives to using match with result TE. The match expression is very useful, but also very much primitive. In chapter 13, you'll learn about closures. Which are used with many of the methods defined on result TE. These methods can be more concise than using match when handling result TE values in your code. For example, here's another way to write the same logic, this time using closures and the unwrap or else method. So how many lines of code is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And up here it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's 3 less lines of code. Unwrap or else error. If error kind equals error kind not found, file create, unwrap or else error. Panic. Yeah, it makes sense, but it's a little bit harder to read, I guess. Um, Maybe not actually. Although this code has the same behavior, it doesn't contain any match expressions and it's cleaner to read. Come back to this example after you've read chapter 13 and look up the unwrap or else method in the standard library documentation. Many more of these methods can clean up huge nested match expressions when you're dealing with errors. Alright. Shortcuts for panic on error. Unwrap and expect. Okay. This is a big chapter. Alright. Let's get back to it. Shortcuts for panic on error. Using match works well enough, but it can be a bit verbose, and it doesn't always communicate intent well. The result type has many helper methods defined on it to do various specific tasks. Okay, and the unwrap method is a shortcut implemented just like match. If the result value is the OK variant, unwrap will return the value inside the OK. If the result is error, it will call panic for us. Here is an example. If we run this code, we'll see an error message from panic. Okay. Similarly, the expect method lets us also choose the panic error message. Using expect instead of unwrap and providing good error messages can convey your intent and make tracking down the source easier. The syntax looks like this. We use expect in the same way as unwrap to return the file handle or call the panic macro. The error message used by expect in its call will be the parameter that we pass, rather than the default panic message. Okay, it's just adding extra customized information to the error message. In production quality code, most RUSTAceans choose expect rather than unwrap and give more context about why the operation is expected to always succeed. That way, if your assumptions are ever proven wrong, you have more information to use in the debugging. Ah, that's true. I like that. That's a very good point. Okay, propagating errors. When a function's implementation calls something that might fail, instead of handling the error within the function itself, you can return the error to the calling code so that it can decide what to do. This is known as propagating the error and gives more control to the calling code, where there might be more information or logic that dictates how the error should be handled. True. Very true. For example, the below code shows a function that reads a username from a file. If the file doesn't exist or cannot be read, this function will return those errors to the code that called the function. Alright, so what do we have here? So we have a function called read username from file, returns a string or an error, and then we're setting file open, let the username file equal match username file result. Oh, so they're on separate lines. Okay. Let username equal string new match username file dot read to string. Which references the username. Okay. Returns the username, error returns the error message. This function can be written in a much shorter way, but we're going to start by doing a lot of it manually in order to explore error handling. Let's look at the return type of the function. This means the function is oh, I see. The final match is actually just a return statement. If this function succeeds without any problems, the code that calls the function will receive an OK value that holds a string containing the username that this function read from the file. If this function encounters any problems, the calling code will receive an error. that contains more information. We choose IO error as the return type because that happens to be the type of the value that's returned. Okay. God, I don't need a full essay on what this code is doing. It's kind of obvious. Alright, let's skip that. It's a bit too much. Alright. A shortcut for propagating errors, the question mark operator. Oh, I see. Just use a question mark. Username file.read question mark question mark semicolon. Okay. The question mark placed after its result value is defined to work in almost the same way as the match expressions. If the value is error, the error will be returned from the whole function, as if we had used the return keyword. Yeah, that makes sense. There's a difference between what the match expression does and what the question operator does. Error values that have the question mark operator called on them go through the from function, defined in the from trait, which is used to convert values from one type into another. When question mark operator calls the from function, the error type received is converted into the error type defined in the return type of the current function. This is useful when a function returns one error type to represent all the ways a function might fail, even if parts might fail for different reasons. For example, we could change the read username from file function to return a custom error type named our error that we define. If we also define implement from for our error to construct an instance of our error, then the question mark operator calls in the body of read username from file will call from and convert the error types without needing to add any more code. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. In the context of this code, the question mark at the end of the file open call will return the value inside OK. If an error occurs, it will return early out of the whole function and give any error value to the calling code. The question mark operator eliminates a lot of boilerplate and makes the functions simpler. We could even shorten this code further by chaining method calls immediately after the question mark, as shown below. Holy shit. Holy shit, that's crazy. What the heck? That is very cool. Wow. Okay. Holy shit, that's crazy. I don't even need to specify username file. because it just skips it. Okay, that's just insane. Hey, Dotram, how's it going? Just working through chapter 9 of the Rust book. And yeah, it's just blowing my mind with how much code you can just simplify using the question mark. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It's Saturday night here. I'm in Japan, so it's 11 p.m. here. Probably, actually, once I've done this chapter, I'm probably gonna head offline. But yeah, so far it's pretty nice evening or night, I should say. I shouldn't be drinking this coffee, to be honest, but never mind. Hmm. So, oh yeah, I just finished this one. Yeah, it's been really good so far. Like, I decided to learn Rust because a lot of people um give it a lot of praise and say a lot of good stuff about it. Um, and it's getting a bit more popular these days. But yeah, um, I can understand why everybody loves this language. Holy crap! You can actually make it even simpler by just skipping everything. Holy crap! This is crazy. Same, however, I think there are currently not many jobs out there for us. Yeah, I agree. I have a feeling it's gonna get there's gonna be a little bit more um more opportunities in the future, but it's one of those languages that I think is super useful if you can do it well. Um, and because not many people can do it, it gives you a really big advantage in the job market when you're searching for a job. So, yeah, definitely gives you like an advantage over other people, I think. Um, like I'm leaving my current job this month, so I'm picking up Rust as a way to like increase my options in the future. So yeah, it's but I'm enjoying it more than I expected, to be honest. Uh, yeah, I'm quitting because I don't think the job is the right job for me. I've been doing it for about 18 months, so like a year and a half, but it's too like I was reaching a point where I was doing so much overtime just to try to make the, like meet the deadlines. And I was just spending all of my time working, and I kind of just, I think the stress just kind of, and the like feeling tired all the time just made me want to leave. But like it's a good job. It's a good salary and everything like this, but there's some parts of the job that it's like, um, you like you think that you're finished and you can like finish your shift, but then all of a sudden, a customer reports a problem, and then suddenly you have to do like extra work, like an extra 3 hours overtime or something. And I was doing that every day, and it just got like too much for me. So I just had my second interview yesterday. Oh, really? That's cool. What kind of job are you applying for? And how was the interview? Reading a file into a string is a fairly common operation, so the standard library provides the convenient fs. Oh, okay, so this is just in this case. Of course, using this doesn't give us the opportunity to explain all the error handling, so we did it the longer way first. Okay, where the question mark operator can be used. Apparently, I'm applying for a TypeScript engineering role. I was contacted by a recruiter, so I wasn't told all the details in advance. Oh, okay. Yeah, TypeScript's pretty cool as well. I hear a lot of good things about TypeScript, although there are some people who don't like it. But I was working with somebody who really enjoyed TypeScript in my last company, and he works at Docker now. I think he's doing some sort of engineering position at Docker. But yeah, he really enjoyed TypeScript. And how was the interview? Was it uh was it as you expected? Some jobs require a lot of interviews these days. When I applied to Google, I had to do like 6 interviews. It's so crazy. Um, the question mark operator can only be used in functions whose return type is compatible with the value the question mark is used on. Okay, yeah, makes sense. It's because the operator is defined to perform an early return of a value out of the function. in the same manner as the match expression. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. The first was more of an introduction and orientation. The second was more technical. Unlike the impression I had during both interviews, both apparently went phenomenal. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's always nice when you finish the interview and you thought that you had a bad performance, but actually they're happy with it. It always feels great. Does the job like meet all of your requirements? Like, you know, is it, for example, in my case, I usually just apply to jobs that I can work remotely because I don't live inside of Tokyo. I live like a little bit, it's not far from Tokyo, but it's a lot better if I can work from home. So one of my main requirements now is that I can do remote work. Um, so yeah, I wonder if it like meets all of your requirements. They even went out of their way telling me that they would like to have me. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, in that case, I'm pretty sure you don't have anything to worry about. Um, it was kind of similar with my current job. I think they kind of decided they wanted me on the first or the second one. So, yeah, I think you can have confidence. That sounds really awesome. In that case, that means you can negotiate for potentially a better salary if you do it correctly. But if you have a recruiter, I guess usually they prefer that you leave the negotiations to them. What I usually do is I try to get two job offers at the same time so I can leverage my salary negotiations. Um, because companies will always try to give you a lower salary, which actually could be good because sometimes they give you a really high salary and then they expect a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's too much. So sometimes lower salary is actually better to start. This code opens a file which might fail. The question mark operator follows the result value returned by file open, but this main function has the return type of brackets, not the result. Oh, okay. When we compile this, we get the following error message. Gonna be using the function returns result or option. Okay. Um, I'm still unsure myself since I get to get the offer. Yeah, usually I think you can just leave that up to your recruiter to get you a good offer. Do you have anything lined up or what are you looking for? So until now, like I've been living in Japan for 11 years, and until now, every time I leave my job, I always have a job prepared. Like, how do I say it? Like I usually get the job offer before I leave my previous company. So every time I left my job, I would immediately start my new job. And the main reason for that was to get a visa, so I could get like a better visa. But now that I have all of the like, I don't need to worry about the visa anymore. This time I'm just gonna be unemployed for a few months, and I'm going to probably really think about what I want to do in the future. So I'm considering like all of my options right now, which is one of the reasons I'm learning Rust. Um, I'm not 100% sure which direction I want to go yet. For example, I could try to start my own business, maybe with IT or something. Or I could try to go into like consultations and be a consultant, um, which means I can kind of, it's kind of self-employed. Um, and then I just make contracts with different companies. So, like, for example, I could work in one company for 3 months and then work in a different company for 6 months. And that is a lot more flexible, and it means I'm not doing the same job all the time, but it's also not very stable because if you don't get the contract, then you don't have any income. So I'm considering that option as well. But if everything kind of seems unrealistic, then I'm probably just gonna go back into a standard full-time job. And I'm gonna make that decision probably in December, I think. How is the job market over there? Over here it's quite harsh. Yeah, the thing is in Japan, it's kind of crazy because the population in Japan is decreasing, so um, people are living longer. So you have the population of the older people is increasing, and there is not many babies being born, which means you have less younger people, or fewer younger people. So in terms of like but obviously technology is evolving, and there are many companies that need engineers. So they're looking to hire foreign people in order to solve this shortage problem. And so there's a lot of vacancies, like vacant jobs. But if you can speak Japanese, it's like a massive advantage. And I, because I've been living here for a long time, I can speak Japanese. So like, there's a website called Indeed. This one. It's in Japanese, but you can just search like Rust, and yeah, there's 1,000 jobs available for Rust, and here it tells you the salaries and stuff, um, company names and things like this. So yeah, there's a lot of vacancies, and there's not enough engineers to fill these vacancies. Um, So I would say it depends on your skill set, but if you have the right skills, it's very easy to find a job, and it's very competitive because there are so many vacancies, the companies will basically fight to hire you, which means there's a lot of opportunity for high salaries. Um, but yeah, that's the situation these days. They used to be really strict with the Japanese language requirements, but these days there's literally like not enough engineers, so I think they're starting to accept people who don't have as much Japanese language skills. Yeah. Oh no, no. I don't mind at all. Uh, it's just. the reason I'm streaming this learning is because first, like situations like this, it's always nice if somebody just joins and kind of has a chat. So yeah, I don't mind at all. Um, which country, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, are you are you living in? I'm assuming that you're looking for a job inside of your home country. Um, because I know some jobs can be uh like in other countries you can work remotely. Germany? Ah, okay, cool. Germany. Yeah, I feel like that could be pretty competitive with the job market. Um, yeah. I'm from the UK, and when I was in the UK, it was almost impossible to find any job. There was like 100 people applying to every job. It was kind of crazy. So it's kind of one of the reasons I left. But yeah, Japan is very different. My position is remote, and the people I spoke with left a friendly impression. So just getting the opportunity for that. Yeah, that's really good. Especially these days, I think more companies are starting to cancel remote work. I feel like Europe is probably still okay, but definitely in America and a few other countries, they're trying to get people in the office. Which, I don't blame them. Like sometimes if you're starting a new job or if the job is really complicated and it requires everybody to like work together a lot, then I can understand like sometimes being in the office is a lot easier. But yeah, I definitely don't like if I get another full-time job in the future, like my minimum requirement would probably be 3 days per week remote work and 2 days in the office. Because there's like some jobs nowadays which are hybrid style. So maybe you know that because you typed 100% remote. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how things changed. Um, I feel like it changed after the coronavirus pandemic, but yeah, it's very different these days, especially in Germany. That's not. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Wow, that's great. Yeah, like when the coronavirus pandemic happened, almost every single company in Japan was remote work, and the companies that could not do remote work, like a lot of those companies failed. Like they lost all of their money. So um, it was almost like every company was doing remote work. And then after uh, I guess maybe about 2 years ago, they started to go back into the office, so the number of remote work jobs decreased. But there's still a lot, I think, in Japan. It's still pretty good. Somewhat feeling a bit guilty since I'm unsure on whether to consider the position despite the nice people and time invested. Yeah, yeah, I understand how you feel. Um, well, you have to kind of think of it this way, which is they are doing the interviews to test you and to see if you're um, a good like a good match for their company. But at the same time, the job interviews is also for you to test the company. So it's both ways. So, you know, don't forget like many of these companies, even if they're really nice, you could get to the last final interview and they could still cancel your offer because maybe they found somebody else, or even it could be something like the upper management. Suddenly they changed the plans for the project, or they changed their budget, and suddenly the job is not available anymore. And in that case, you know, even if you do the interviews perfect, you still don't get the offer. So um, that is always a possibility. So you have to just think about it like this, and just remember that, you're also confirming that this job is correct for you as well. So, um, yeah, don't worry about that too much. It would be worse if you, like, think about it this way. If you join the company and then you realize that you don't want to do it anymore after like a few weeks, and then you've wasted even more of their time, you've wasted your own time, and, like things like this. So, yeah, don't worry about if you cancel at the final interview or something like this, or even if you get the job offer. Um, I know some recruiters in Japan. It's kind of crazy, actually. A lot of engineers will just take the job interviews to get the final offer, and then they will show that final offer to their current company, and they will use that as a negotiation to stay in their current job and increase their salary. And that is that happens a lot, especially in Japan. So, um, just be honest with yourself and with them, um, and just try to confirm if they're the right company for you. But don't worry too much about that, I think. Like there was some news recently about Facebook. I guess you call it Meta these days. A lot of really, really good engineers, kind of famous engineers, joined Meta for like super high salary, like $1 million per year or something like this. And some of them didn't even like go to work on the first day. Some of them disappeared. Some of them left after just a few weeks and they went back to working at OpenAI. So it happens. Um, as of now, my current job and team is just as nice, and I'm in a lucky position on a project I'll do in my free time anyway. Yeah, well, that's what I say. Like, if I'm happy in my current job, it's always a good idea to test the market and to see what's available, because you never know when your current job is going to be made redundant. Like companies, even if they're really good companies, they could run out of money for any possible reason. So, there's no such thing as a safe job. So, um, when I like maybe every 3 or 6 months, I'll talk to recruiters and just see what's available. And I always tell them, like, because they always ask me, why do you want to leave, or why are you looking for a new job? And I just tell them honestly that I'm happy in my current job. Um, I don't mind if I stay in my current job. So I just want to see what's available, what's possible. And when you say it like that, or, if you're honest in the beginning, then you're kind of setting their expectations, like realistic expectations. If, if you tell them in the beginning that you hate your job and you really want something new, and you're happy with any salary, you don't care, you just want to do something interesting or new, then basically you're telling them uh, that you're basically going to accept any offer that they give you and that you're kind of desperate. But then if you change your mind later, it's like totally different to their expectations. And so I think it's always better to be honest in the beginning. It just makes everything easier, I think. It also makes them want to give you a better offer if you're happy in your current job, because they basically want to steal you. Most benefits seem to be similar, on the same level, and assuming the salary ends up a bit higher. I currently do not think the minor bump in salary justifies a switch. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a good point. Um, and in that case, you could even just say that to them, like, honestly. So I think you're in a very good position. And as long as you just, stay transparent and honest about your situation, I think you'll be fine. Um, when I'm not sure, if I'm not sure about the decision, what I do is I imagine both situations, and then I try to think about which one I will regret the most, and then I choose the opposite one. So, um, yeah, I just think about what if I choose both, and in the worst situation, which one would I regret most? And then I just choose the opposite one. I already told the recruiter in interviews, but say we had. Yeah, yeah. Then that's perfect. I think you'll be totally fine. Uh, this function returns option char. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Text dot lines dot next question mark char is lost. Okay. Yeah. Simple. Uh, oh, glad you like it. Yeah. It's it's a good way to make a decision if you have no idea. Or it works for me anyway. Um, this code takes text string. Yeah, okay. It's easy. But you can use question mark operator on a result, returns result. But you can't mix and match. Okay. Okay, it was actually easier than I expected. There was a lot of text, but I could skip a lot of this. Sometimes you can just read the code and you know what it's doing. To panic or not to panic? How do you decide when you should call panic? When there's no way to recover, you call panic. When you choose to return a result, you give the calling code options. Yeah, I think it's pretty simple stuff. Examples, prototypes, and tests. When you're writing an example to illustrate some concepts, also including robust error handling code, can make examples less clear. It's understood that a call to method like unwrap that could panic is meant as a placeholder. Unwrap and expect methods are very handy when prototyping before you're ready to decide how to handle the errors. They leave clear markers in your code. Yeah, makes sense. If a method call fails in a test, you want the whole test to fail. Yes, true. It'd be appropriate to call expect when you have some other logic that ensures the result will have an okay value, but the logic isn't something the compiler understands. You'll still have a result value that you need to handle. Okay. If you can ensure by manually inspecting the code that you'll never have an error variant, it's perfectly acceptable to call expect and document the reason. Yeah, of course. For example, IP addresses should be valid. Yeah. It's advisable to have your code panic when it's possible your code could end up in a bad state. Bad state is something unexpected. If someone calls your code and passes in values that don't make sense, it's best to return an error if you can, so the user of the library can decide what they want to do. However, in cases where continuing could be insecure or harmful, the best choice might be to call a panic and alert the person using your library to the bug in their code so they can fix it. Yeah, it's all like simple stuff. It all makes sense. It's just kind of like concepts or something. Creating custom types for validation. It would be useful to enhance. It would be a useful enhancement to guide the user towards valid guesses, and have different behavior when the user guesses a number that's out of the range. For example, the if expression checks whether our value is out of range, tells the user about the problem, and calls continue to start the next iteration. Yeah, this is like, come on, this is, everybody knows this stuff. What else? It's not ideal. If it were critical, a program only operated on values between 1 and 100, and it had many functions with this requirement. Having a check like this in every function would be tedious. So it's basically going to tell me to create an implementation or something. Yeah, implement guess instead of hard coding it everywhere. Turn it into a struct and put an implementation in the struct. If the value is between this, then panic. Yeah, and then you only need to write this code one time instead of many times. I think we can skip that. Yeah, makes sense. Alrighty then. I think we're finished with chapter 9. At that pace, you'd get through all the chapters in no time. Well, the thing is, like, you're right, but at the same time, so what I do is like one chapter per day. This entire chapter was actually very simple. It's like the concepts of programming in general. The beginning of this chapter was actually a lot more complicated, so I spent a lot of time on that. Well, I wouldn't say it was complicated, but there was a lot of like new stuff introduced in this chapter, in the first section. Like, where was it? Oh, sorry, maybe it was the second section. Like this part here, this is just when you joined the chat, I think, where you're replacing the match with, well, here it uses multiple matches, and then you can replace this with question mark. Oh, well, actually, the first thing you can do is you can replace it with unwrap or else, and then you can replace that with a question mark. So this part, I spent a lot of time on this part, but the other stuff, I feel like this is kind of like not just specific for Rust, but this is like logic that you can use in every programming language. It's just kind of using different words to explain the same concept. But there was a chapter, which chapter was it? I think it was chapter 7. This one took me 2 days, because it was just so much information. Oh, was it chapter 8? It was one of these chapters. So, yeah. Although lifetimes took some time to wrap my head around. Yes. I think I haven't done lifetimes yet, actually. Where is that? There's somewhere, lifetime. Chapter 10. Actually, it's the next chapter. So yeah, maybe chapter 10 is going to take some time for me. Um, yeah, it depends on the chapter, I think. Chapter 9 was kind of nice and easy. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, next chapter. Wow. So you can do TypeScript and you know Rust. That's pretty cool. I'm guessing you know maybe one or two more languages. But yeah, it's pretty nice to do multiple languages because it changes the way you think about the code sometimes. Like usually I don't do programming actually. This is the first time I'm doing programming for like how long? Maybe 2 years or something, or 3 years. Because my current job doesn't require programming. It just requires like doing bash, well, like PowerShell scripts and stuff like this, which is kind of different. Um, so yeah, actually some of this stuff is also like it's been a long time since I thought about this stuff. So yeah, I need to start doing some projects. Um, I have some ideas for projects, but I don't feel confident yet with Rust. I need to practice a little bit first, and then yeah, I have a nice project. Well, I have like three nice projects that I want to do, so it should be fun. To be fair, I'd say Bash is harder and more terse, verbose than the easier and more popular languages. Yeah, it's kind of. I think you're right. When you see a Bash script that's like really high level, it's kind of like crazy. It's very difficult to follow the script sometimes, especially when they start using regular expressions and stuff, and then piping everywhere and things like this. But it's definitely a different type of thinking. You have to kind of switch your mind on how to think about it. Um, I used to do Java programming a long time ago, and that's the language I'm most familiar with. But even Java, like the last time I did Java was 5 years ago, maybe. And then the last time I did Python was about 3 years ago. So some of this stuff is similar, but some of it is very different. I personally like learning new things as long as I get to know how to use them for my benefit. Java. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like sometimes you learn something, and if you're not sure why it's useful, then it's sometimes it's better to learn something else. Like usually you learn something in order to achieve a goal. Um, or maybe just because you enjoy doing it. But I see. Yeah, I think Java was the main language I learned in college, in university, but I don't think it was the first language I learned was Visual Basic. Um, and then I learned Java. But yeah, Java felt really easy to learn, like as a beginning language, compared to something like C++ plus plus or What else? Perl is, I don't know why, but Perl is quite confusing to me. It's been quite a while since I wrote Java. I think the last version I used was 8. Oh, 8 is not the latest version anymore. What is the latest version? Java 9 or 10, maybe? Java versions. Yeah, I think I learned with Java version 6. Did I learn with 6? I think it was 6. Um, oh, sorry, I'm thinking of Java Runtime Environment, JRE. I get confused. Oh no. Uh, what's this? I learned in 2011, so it was SE 7 or 1.7. Oh wow, they really made a lot of new versions. What the heck? I don't know why, but learning JavaScript was harder than Java. Okay, actually, it was exactly the same for me. I remember I spent like what it was something like 50 euros or 100 euros or something on an online JavaScript course, and I couldn't even finish like chapter 3 or something because I was so confused. And because I did Java for like 2 years or something, and then I thought, oh, okay, everybody's using JavaScript. I should learn JavaScript. And then I started learning it, and I was like, what the heck is this? I don't know why. Like, JavaScript just does not make sense to me. Maybe if I practiced it every day for like a few weeks or something, it should be fine, I guess. But it's kind of painful to learn JavaScript. I don't know why. Um, and C++ was kind of like that for me, but C++ still makes sense. Like you can pretty quickly understand why it's designed in specific ways. But for me, JavaScript just does not make sense. I think the main gap or hurdle was learned as a lack of understanding how dynamic languages operate under the hood. Yes, I think that's the main point. It was a big change from Java. Like when I was doing Java, I was doing object-oriented programming. So, like creating objects and things like that. So it was very different to using something like JavaScript. But yeah, I had no idea Java has so many versions these days. The last one I used was probably version 11 or something. Maybe it was version 8 actually. It was a long time ago. Funny enough, I started learning C++ for C. Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, Now that you mention that, C was pretty difficult. I kind of stopped learning C um, because it was just hard to understand. C++ was okay, but C was a bit difficult, and I didn't want to spend too much time on that one. So I gave up after like a few days or something. But yeah, that's crazy. You know a lot of languages. That's cool. But knowing C, C++, Rust makes the most. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Like a lot of stuff, um, a lot of stuff in Rust is definitely similar to C++. Um, but I guess Rust has a lot of extra stuff that kind of prevents you from making bad code, which is really nice. And I like the compiler. Like it's so easy to use. And also when it gives you suggestions and I don't know, like this is just super nice to use. And it makes sense as well, like when you read the documentation, it all makes sense. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm gonna call it a day because it's in 4 more minutes it's gonna be midnight. But I still remember having to copy H and yeah, yeah, the header files, right? And also like using destructors as well as constructors. Um, and I don't know why, but yeah, learning pointers in C++ was really difficult for me. But after that, you get used to it. So when you're using references in Rust, it makes sense. Um, but I think if I never learned C++ and if I never learned about the stack and the heap in the memory, then probably Rust would be very difficult for me. Act of adding a new library was already. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. CMake. Yeah. Yeah, and also sometimes the syntax was not very obvious as well. It was. When did I do C++? It was like 2012 or something. 2013 maybe. So I don't remember a lot of stuff about C++, but definitely I remember the pointers and the destructors and the header files, things like that. And you have to clean up because there's no garbage collection or like memory cleanup, so you have to clean up yourself. That was a new idea for me at that time. Rest heavily relies on user knowing the memory model. Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool though. Like yeah, it's strange feeling because it's the first time in a long time that I've been feeling excited to learn a new language. Like even when I was learning Python and other languages, it wasn't this interesting. So I think Rust is a good language for me. It's really nice. But yeah, thanks so much. It was good talking to you, and yeah, I'm gonna get off. Um, I'm probably not gonna be on tomorrow, but I'm gonna be on like from Monday to Friday and like every day around this time or maybe a little bit earlier. But Obviously, you'll be working at that time, I think. But yeah, I'll be on next weekend as well, I think. Right. Then see you next time. Thanks for the fun and interesting chat. It was pretty good, and I hope your job interview goes well. I'm pretty sure it will. It sounds like it's perfect for you. All right. See you later.